Good evening and thanks for joining us. Thunder Bay Fire Rescue is investigating the cause of a fire on Dawson Road. A 4-bedroom home ignited in flames around 1 o'clock this morning. No one was home at the time the blaze broke out. Fire officials have determined from a preliminary search that the home was secure with no signs of foul play. The fire is not being treated as suspicious. Crews say the fire started in the basement and made its way upwards throughout the roof and floors. The house itself has too much damage for an investigation at this time.
1 a.m. Crews were alerted to a fire at this address. Quickly came, did a primary search. Nobody was home at the time, but the structure had heavy fire damage. So with our investigation, it's ongoing.
Investigation continues and more details will be released as they become available. Well, Thunder Bay Police are reminding drivers to be cautious of wildlife on the roadsides. The number of vehicle and wild animal-related collisions has started to rise with the change of season. Bears are looking to fatten up for the winter, while deer and moose are rutting with the start of autumn. Thunder Bay Police say up to 10 collisions a week can occur this time of year between drivers and animals on semi-rural and rural roads. Police have already responded to several collisions involving moose and bears, and they're warning that animals can damage your car or worse.
If you do have the misfortune of being in a collision with wildlife, please, you must report the damage if it exceeds $1,000 to your nearest police service, which is in Oliver Papoonge in Thunder Bay. Here at Thunder Bay Police, we have a self-reporting center open 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. on Saturdays.
If an animal is distressed or deceased, police must be notified to remove the carcass as early as possible. Dusk can be especially dangerous, and police say drivers should scan the tree lines to watch for any movement. Well, students at local schools got a lesson this week on how to deal with bullies. Constable Rick Lemieux is a community service officer with the Timmins Police Service. He's also the author of a book entitled The Bully and the Bystander, as well as the host of the Smart Tips DVD used to educate children about bullying and other safety topics. Lemieux visited several local schools as well as the Boys and Girls Club this week. He says the best way to curb bullying is to encourage other students to come forward if they see it taking place in their schoolyard or community. Lemieux tries to present his message in a fun and relaxed way that he says seems easy to resonate with students.
Just speaking to the principals, they say it makes a huge difference. You know, for the 2 or 3 months after I've been to the school, they keep bringing up, oh, remember what Constable Rick said? And so a lot of kids are reporting it, and which is good. I mean, if you can get the kids to report it, to me, that's the key to stopping bullying in the schools.
We never say that there's a bully. We always say that there's bullying behavior and people can change their behavior. And I think it's making sure that we have a plan to tackle it, and that every kid in the school and every student, every parent, every teacher, all our workers understand what bullying behavior looks like, and that we deal with it when it comes to our attention.
In addition to bullying, Lemieux also tackles issues like the dangers of drugs and alcohol, school safety, and the power of maintaining a positive attitude. Well, Thunder Bay residents were walking for a good cause today, and while the skies were gray now, it turned out to be a beautiful morning for the event. Mike Albanese has the story.
ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease, is a disease that debilitates the host's abilities to walk and talk and isn't well known to the public. That's why when the walk Audrey Hansen holds started to get a better attendance rate, she knew there was a downside.
Unfortunately, it's good that the walk is getting bigger, but that means that more people are getting the disease, which is not a good thing. We usually have about 125 to 150 people that participate in the walk every year.
Audrey Hansen lost her husband John on July 5, 2006, learning all too quickly the harsh reality of the disease. With an average life expectancy of 2.5 years after diagnosis, it takes a lot of support to fight. That's where ALS Canada comes to help.
People need a lot of support when they're diagnosed, and this isn't a very expensive illness. So our goal at ALS Canada is to help support them, ensure they're getting the community resources, getting the individuals coming in to do support, being connected with ALS clinics in Ontario.
As Barry stated, community support is huge towards stopping ALS. This is something that Murray Brown, a man diagnosed with ALS last December, found out today at his debut to the walk.
I'm really almost stunned for words. It's amazing. This is my first time, obviously, here. I'm a newbie for the walk, and I plan on being here many more years. So it's just amazing just seeing all the people and colleagues and friends and the support that they're showing here.
Brown raised over $11,000 alone, which is over half of what the entire walk was estimated to raise. But even with this strong effort, more needs to be done about this ruthless disease.
Just be aware that it can happen to anybody, any gender, any age, and there's no rhyme or reason for it. There's no cure presently, but hopefully with walks such as this and community support, there'll be research and hopefully they'll find a cure for this disease.
Brown's positive outlook is something to be admired, and with the event growing over the past 12 years, there is good reason. You can still donate to the walk itself for up to a month by visiting www.als.ca, and every donation matters. Mike Albanese, TBT News.
Some people probably think of darts as just a hobby, but today the sport is being used for a good cause. The 9th annual Darts for Autism tournament is taking place to raise money for the developmental disorder. Participants prepared yesterday with a Just for Fun night. A doubles tournament was hosted today, followed by a spaghetti dinner and later a singles tournament. The event brings in around 40 people a year, and the proceeds provide money towards therapies the government won't cover when you're over 18. Terry Rantala, the founder of the event, sees darts as a key role in the success of the fundraiser because the game is pretty unique.
There's not many tournaments. Back in the old days there was lots, and there's less and less tournaments, so the ones that we do have, people, they sort of want you to keep going too, like the dart community. So we still do one for CF and we do this one, and those are probably the two fundraiser ones that happen during the year.
The event will continue all night, and Rantala plans to make it even bigger for the 10-year anniversary next year. While a plan to take on homelessness and housing shortages is shaping up in the Rainy River area, the district's Social Services Board has been holding a public open house and asking people to weigh in online. Rainy River DSAB Chief Administrator Jan McCormick says concerns have been raised about supportive housing and housing for young people and transients. McCormick says some people might think homelessness isn't an issue in a small district like Rainy River, but he says there are a lot of people who couch surf and don't have a true home.
We know there's an issue there, but it's something that's really hard to document. The other thing is we're also looking at things like the seniors and how their housing is, because most of our housing stock was built many years ago to address needs at that time, and those needs have changed. So what we're finding is the housing stock may not be where we need it, and it may not be addressing the sector of the population that truly need the housing.
The board will receive a draft plan at its meeting in October. The province is making all DSABs put together a 10-year housing and homelessness plan. Over the last few months, the township of Nipigon has been cleaning up the river through a series of eco-dives. Areas along the Nipigon River were once used as an underwater dumping ground many decades ago. Cars, trucks, and appliances lie at the bottom of the river, but on the most recent eco-dive, there was a find of historic proportions. So far, it's been mostly tires, bicycles, and metal debris that's been brought to the surface. But last weekend, divers spotted the remnants of what they believe to be a wooden wagon from the pioneer days. Silt deposits have made it difficult to determine if there's an entire preserved wagon at the bottom, but Nipigon Mayor Richard Harvey intends to find out if that's the case.
The main access for the entire Arctic watershed back in the 16, 17, 1800s, the trail started here. They had to portage up past the rapids, which were all here. So they'd portage right along the top edge here. You know, is this an artifact from that era? Is this something that went in there then? What else might be in there?
This isn't the first time eco-divers have found something of interest on the bottom of the river. During an initial scouting dive of the bottom, a Nipigon resident asked for the team to keep an eye out for a doll she lost in the river some 50 years ago.
The fellow I was diving with came up and said, "Look, I found an old doll." And of course I got excited. He couldn't understand why. I told him that was the find of the day, and took it back to her, and it was her doll. And so she was just absolutely thrilled. She's been restoring it, cleaning up. She told us to look for her carriage as well.
The team is to return to the site sometime next week with specialized equipment in order to raise the old wagon. Well, a $375 million lawsuit was certified by a Superior Court judge this past week, clearing the way for legal action to move forward for the victims of the May 28th flooding. For our question of the day, we wanted to know what you thought the outcome of the class action lawsuit would be.
I think they might not win. I don't know. It kind of is one of those things that just happens. There's nothing the city can do to really prevent it when it happens. Like when it floods, it floods. There was a lot of rain that year. You know, I got stranded out in the bush. I couldn't come into town. So, you know, I'm not going to sue them for that.
Probably out of court settlement.
Why do you think that?
Well, that's probably the reasonable thing, to keep things out of litigation, and most people will benefit if a deal is struck, and it'll be a lot quicker than going through the courts.
I don't think they're going to win. I think it'll probably be a settlement a lot less than what they expected, just because the capacity for the flooding all across Canada has been so immense. I can't see Calgary, where people's homes were literally underwater, even basements getting destroyed. I mean, it's minimal compared to the big picture of what the damages were this year.
I think they're going to settle out of court.
Yeah, why do you think that?
Well, I think it's going to cost too much money to go through the whole legal process, but I do think they need some compensation.